So cars are now starting to roll, I think, behind my commentary position, which means that they're about to head out onto the track. It will be another rolling start this race as well, I think, to make sure that we don't burn out the clutches on some of these very old and very valuable machines. And as you'll see when they do come into view, some real different shapes and sizes out there on track. It's not just, we've had a lot of one-make racing this weekend, which is great. I love one-make racing. I'm a big fan of it, but there is something to be said about not only a mixed class grid, but a historic grid as well, because as you can see, the cars, no two cars really look the same. Even the Jaguars, as I said, they're slightly different versions of the Jaguar Mark IIs. But they are all now slowly making their way around onto the start-finish line. So, track cleared then. Good job by the marshals to get that sorted in a quick manner. And just looking out the window, there are one or two black clouds starting to creep in. I hate to mention it because we had enough rain to last a lifetime yesterday, but that sky there does look a little bit ominous, doesn't it? As if maybe we might get a little sprinkle of rain. Now, these cars will all run on historic tyres, which will be grooved, so they won't be on slick tyres. So in theory, they can handle the rain, but these cars, especially the really powerful Jaguars and yeah, some of the cars towards the very front of the field, they're going to be a real handful in the wet, aren't they? So that's going to be a challenge for them. Now, have we lost somebody? I think we have, haven't we? We don't appear to have, unfortunately, the Shelby GT350, which was in the holding area, so it was ready to go. It's in the pit lane. Oh, that's a shame. What did I say about it being my favourite car? It's unfortunately going no further. A very smoky Shelby GT350 is making its way down the pit lane right now, and it's getting smokier the further it goes. Smoke coming out of the exhausts. It's not some sort of James Bond-esque special effect. It's clearly a problem with the car, so the marshals that were on the grid, gridding the cars up, and now have to run into the pit lane to try and get it sorted. There you can see it going into the garage. What a shame. Brilliant car, beautiful car, sounds great as well, and it qualified reasonably well up on the fifth row of the grid. So there'll be a gap there now. Is everybody else in position? I think they are. Just looking down below, yeah, we've got on the back row this mystery driver in the number 17 Jaguar E-Type, and the 133 of Chris Reese is there, the MGB. So I think we're only going to be missing one car, but sadly it's one of the cars I was particularly looking forward to seeing. So picking a winner from this, I mean, it's likely to come down to the two cars on the front row because they were very evenly matched in qualifying. Just 3.5 tenths separated Webb and Newell in the Jaguar Lister Mark 1 saloon, the number 25 car on pole from Darren McWhirter in the darker livery number 9 car alongside, but Webb and Newell sharing the car. One driver may be quicker than the other, of course, whereas McWhirter's doing the whole 40 minutes on his own. So I guess there's an argument to say there is a benefit to doing this on your own because your pace will be consistent over the whole race. But I reckon Darren McWhirter, therefore, might be the man most likely to take this away from Webb and Newell, but you never know. Over 40 minutes, of course, mechanical gremlins can always crop up, and that can quite literally throw a spanner in the works, and makes these historic races fairly impossible to predict, really. So we've got all of the cars on the grid. They've been there for a little while, but I think they're just waiting for the final, yeah, I can see there's one more recovery vehicle up at the top of the track just getting out of the way now, so they can't really release them onto the green flag lap until that has been dealt with. So within the next 30 seconds or so, hopefully we'll get the cars out on track, and we will be able to get this one and only race for the Aston Martin Owners Club Jack Fairman and Innes Island Cup race underway. There you can see 40 minutes the distance, mandatory pit stop for all of the cars in the middle portion of the race. But the only thing you have to do really is change driver if you've got two drivers. If you're going it alone, you literally pull in, park up, and stay there for a while. There'll be a designated amount of time they have to stay stationary for, have a chat with the team or the marshals or whoever, and then when your time's up, you can leave back out onto the track. And because it is a set amount of time they have to stay in the pit lane, it means there shouldn't be any advantage really to being either a single driver or in a shared car. So cars on the move then. The 4 Jaguars, well 5 Jaguars really towards the front, because we've got 5 Jaguars in the top 6 positions, with Grant Williams there 6th on the grid, being led around suitably enough by our Jaguar XF Sport Brake runyourfleet.com safety car, which BRSCC is very happy to announce. They are working in association with runyourfleet.com this year. runyourfleet.com are a leading UK vehicle fleet management company. It's a 2-year partnership to supply a fantastic white Jaguar XF Sport Brake safety or course car, depending on what job it's doing. So at the moment, technically, it's the course car. If it comes out during the race, then it's the safety car. But it is the same vehicle being used by the club in return for brand visibility and marketing support. runyourfleet.com is the most cost-effective and flexible way to buy, lease and manage everything you need for your fleet of company vehicles through their managed fleet services, from car and van hire and short lease vehicles, breakdown cover and fleet management, to risk management and the latest vehicle telematics options. runyourfleet.com has every solution for your fleet requirements, with a great range of funding options available too. The runyourfleet.com rental service claim that they can deliver a vehicle to anywhere within the UK within 2 hours, and their consolidated 24/7 cloud-based system offers you flexibility and personal control over all of your vehicles. The stunning Jaguar XF Sport Brake, which you can see working its way through McLean's now, carries a unique livery and will become very familiar, I'm sure, at numerous BRSCC race meetings this year, whilst being used as the course car and safety car. And we're looking forward to seeing it at the start of all of the races, hoping not to see too much of it, with all respect, during the middle part of the races, because that means we'll have an incident on track that requires the safety car to come out. But do head over to runyourfleet.com if you think that you can benefit from the rather impressive things that they have on offer. Speaking of impressive things on offer, I give you 40 minutes of Aston Martin Owners Club Jack Fairman and Innes Ireland Cup racing action, with the number 25 Jaguar lining up on that pole position. And that is the car, the Webber Newell car, that will lead the field to the green. As they work their way down into the chicane then. Jaguars to the fore here at Donington Park. The pace car pulls off the road, and it will be a 2x2 rolling start towards the start-finish line. Here we go then. On the left of the shot is the Webber Newell car. Don't know which of those 2 drivers is starting the car, but we do know it's Darren McWhirter alongside, with John Young 3rd on the grid. Here we go, this should be quite the spectacle. The red lights go out, we're away and racing here at Donington Park, and immediately there's drama for the pole-sitting car. The bonnet has flown up on the car that starts on pole position. The Webber Newell Jaguar is off the road immediately, and I'm afraid that will be a retirement, because I don't think they're going to be able to get that secure enough to get back to the pit lane. So that is such a shame, and real drama there right at the start of the race. So, out through the Craner curves they go for the first time. That means that Darren McWhirter has got the lead. Now, is that John Young in 2nd position? I think it is the 101, isn't it, in 2nd? There is the 25 car. What a sorry sight it makes. That will have done quite a bit of damage as well, I would have thought, to the, not only the bonnet, but possibly the windscreen and even the roof as well. Number 20 Jaguar there drops down the hill. That's Michael O'Shea's Jaguar Mark II. A little bit further down the order than the similar cars around it. And look at the way that little Lotus Elan now of Rob Fenn is starting to make some moves against the big point and squirt Jaguars. It's actually the 33 car that's in 2nd place, so my apologies, that's the Pearson and Dorlin shared car, except it's no longer in 2nd, because through goes Rob Fenn on the inside, and John Young tries to follow him through. Couldn't quite do it through Coppice Corner, but the Elan, as good as it is through the corners, might now struggle down the long exhibition straight. Can the Jaguars get back to it? Well, actually, no, it doesn't look like they can. So it's going to be Jaguar, I think, from Lotus at the end of the first lap of racing. No doubt about the leader. That's Darren McWhirter in the number 9 car, but the Lotus is coming for him, isn't it? Rob Fenn in 2nd place is really up for the challenge here. Then 3rd position is going to be the 101 of John Young. Then it's the Pearson and Dorlin number 33 car next. Then you've got another of the... that's the Lotus 17, is it? Ian Dalgleish. It is. Dalgleish started the race down in 12th place, but he's got the number 17 car right up towards the front of the field. Rest of the field working their way through. So that's what, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th place for the other Lotus, isn't it? The Lotus 17, which appropriately enough is running number 17. Down the hill we go, and I think we've actually got Lotus in the lead now, haven't we? Yeah, Fenn is in the lead. He's found a way past Darren McEwan, so the Lotus is on an absolute mission here. Both of the Lotuses on an absolute mission. Down the hill they go. There's the Alpha, the GTA in the background, the yellow machine, which is harrying another one of the Jaguars. That's the Frankel and Mackenzie Alfa Romeo, and they were running in 12th position by the looks of it. So that's the Pearson Lenthal Jaguar in front of him. There's the number 17 E-Type, who we still don't have a driver. Do we have a driver name for it now on the time screen? Yes, surname of Gate, but I couldn't tell you what their first name is because they're not on the entry list. But number 17, which was a late addition to the qualifying session earlier on today, is moving its way through from the back of the pack. So, lots to unpack after the first lap or so. The 25 car, by the way, is no longer parked up along the side of the road, I don't think, unless it's been pulled behind the wall at Redgate Corner. So there's a possibility that it's got back going again. Albeit a lap or so down. The leaders come through though, and there you can see the gaps already starting to build up. Rob Fenn with the fastest lap, a 1:25.0 for him, 3.3 seconds now ahead of McEwan in second place. Good battling going on further back there. The 53 car goes up the inside line, or 153 that is, isn't it? That's the Reed-driven Aston Martin DB2, and that sort of delayed the 58 Jaguar there. Which is the Pearson Lenthal car. That car's really plunged down the order. They started 11th place, and they've definitely lost a few places since the start of the race. Into Redgate, the Alpha up the inside, nicely done. Another example of little and large there, isn't it? The lightweight Alpha, much better on the brakes, but doesn't have the horsepower to keep the Jaguars behind as soon as they get to a straight or a flat-out section. Aston Martin there gaining a position a little bit further up the road as well, really skating around here on these historic tyres, which just don't really offer up a huge amount of grip, but that's how the drivers like it. There is the 25 car, so it had been pulled behind the wall, but only long enough for them to strap the bonnet back down and send it on its way. So it's back into the race then, but the leaders are already on lap number 3, so it's 2 laps down essentially, having not even made it to the first corner before it ran into difficulties. Car 110 there is Simon Seath in his Jaguar Mark 1, and the Alfa Romeo continues now to pick its way up the order. So this is car number 21. Which is one of the 2 Frankel and Mackenzie driven cars, the highest placed of those 2. So what I can only assume is happening is that one driver is starting each of the cars, then they'll coordinate their pit stops, they'll pit at the same time and literally swap cars. One will jump out of the Alpha and into, well, they're both Alfa Romeos, got the GTA and the Alfa Romeo Sprint, so they'll jump out of one and into the other. And yeah, that's one way of doing it, I suppose. Down through the chicane goes the number 20 car, which is continuing to struggle a bit here. It's Michael O'Shea in the Jaguar Mark 2, but the number 17 E-Type should be a little bit quicker down the straight, and it looks like it is. It goes past one of the Mark 2s, goes up the inside of the other one, and will gain a place into Redgate Corner. Gain 2 places actually into Redgate Corner with the Alpha as its next target. The lead gap then for Rob Fenn is up to 7.1 seconds now. 7.1 seconds, and then a further 4/10 or so back from McEwan to Dalgleish. So Dalgleish is now into 3rd place in the 117 car. That is the Lotus 17, isn't it? So Ian Dalgleish, having started 12th on the grid, is now into P2. Now his previous lap was about 1.5 seconds slower than the leader, but of course he had to make an overtake against the Young car on the previous lap. So I wonder, can he get into, well, surely he can get into 2nd place before much longer. Could he even go and challenge for the race lead? Try and pick them up momentarily. In fact, they've just come past me on the start-finish line, and we have now had a change for 2nd. So Dalgleish is up ahead of the 101 John Young-driven car. On the screens, we're seeing the 17 E-Type here, trying to fit up the inside into Coppice Corner. That was a bit of a ever-closing door situation, wasn't it, really? And as they head back along the straight now, finally, the E-Type can make its move. Got 2 E-Types in the race, of course. Rob Farrell in the number 89 car is the other one. Rob is 7th place at the moment, sort of in no man's land, really, 10 seconds or so behind the next car in front. So out across the line comes this little group. This is basically the battle for 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th and 15th coming through, but of course all running in slightly different classes as well. Now out of the chicane we get some of our front runners now, so that is the 101 car, which is running in 3rd position then. Across the line they go, and down into Redgate corner once more. Not going to take long, of course, before back markers do start to play a real part in this race. Number 11 there is the other Mackenzie and Frankel Alfa Romeo. That one, the Alfa Romeo Sprint. Very nice shade of blue on that car as well. Down through the crane, of course they go. Got to try and carry the momentum, but there's so much body roll and so little grip being given by the tyres that it's just it's a real thrill ride down through that particular section of the track. And there's the 22, which we haven't seen much of so far, but that is the MG Midget of Edwin Driver, who is currently running down in 21st place. So up through McLean's they go. 9.2 seconds then now is the lead margin. So it did go out again on the previous lap. So Dalgleish, having got into 2nd place, is not quite as quick as Rob Fenn, but it is a Lotus 1-2. So we started with 5 Jaguars in the top 6 positions. And now here we are with 2 Lotuses at the head of the field. The first of the Jaguars is the John Young car in 3rd place. And there is the race leader going up through McLean's corner. And right on, sorry, there's the 2nd place car, I should say, going through McLean's corner. And actually, having got past John Young, can't get away from him, can he? The gap was just over a second at the start of the lap, but Young is maybe close enough now to use the superior power of that Jaguar to get alongside down the straight. But with great power comes great power sliding and not very much grip, it would seem. Overheating rear tyres already, I think, on the Jaguar Mark 1 Saloon. And so John Young struggling perhaps to get the power down. So it's one thing to have more horsepower than your opponent, but you've got to be able to get that horsepower down onto the ground and actually translate it into traction off the turn. And that is kind of the issue with that obviously much bigger and therefore much heavier Jaguar. It is going to work the tyres a little bit harder. Behind them, good battle going on here. This is for position, I believe, isn't it? Yeah, it's the Pearson and Dorlin Jaguar that's just got itself ahead of the Darren McWhirter number 9 car. So that's a change for 4th place there. Pearson and Dorlin heading down the hill. The 33 car, Glenn Pearson and Peter Dorlin. Not sure which of those 2 is in the car for this first stint, unfortunately, but they're both pretty rapid drivers, in fairness. That car should have pretty equal pace throughout the course of the race. Into the old hairpin then goes the Austin A35, the 172 car. That's Bruce McWhirter, who I think is brother of Darren McWhirter, but I may have got that wrong. But the Austin Healey A35, which it's become a very popular car to race again these days. A lot of historic touring car series seem to almost have their own subclass for Austin A35s and Austin A40s, and it's not uncommon to see top-level touring car stars of the modern day sport jumping into those things and having a bit of fun on a weekend off. Leader goes through, 11 seconds plus now is the margin between the top 2. Rob Fenn then leading the way with the transponder that's taking a bit of a while to update, unfortunately. He's only a couple of tenths a lap now quicker than Dalgleish and Young behind him, who are now nearly 2 seconds apart, those 2. But the Lotus Elan, which has just worked its way through a big group of traffic, is running in a very, very comfortable lead. But we are only 11 minutes into this race, and as I said at the start, we've still got pit stops to worry about. The pit window has opened now, by the way. It opened after the first 10 minutes, so there's no immediate rush. I think it'll be open for 20 minutes, but there are a couple coming in, or one car anyway, into the pit lane, and that was Grant Williams in the number 12 car. We haven't seen much of Grant, but he's a very spectacular driver, and he's decided to get the pit stop out of the way early. Possibly because he felt that he was being held up by the cars around him. Maybe he caught a bit of lap traffic that he had to negotiate. So he is the first car to pit, and a reminder for those that weren't with us yesterday for our Fun Cup pit stop race, the scoring pylon down the left-hand side of the screen, when a driver's name goes blank, that's sort of faded, that means they're in the pit lane at that particular moment. So expect to see more and more drivers peeling in over the next few laps down into the Robert Chicane. This all looks rather entertaining. This is a battle for position going on right in front of our second place car. So Ian Dalgleish with quite a lot of work on his hands here, and there you can see John Young not far behind him, also trying to take advantage of all of this. That was the number 42 car that was sort of at the front of or making its way to the front of that group. That's the Jaguar XK120 of Jeffrey Otley. And he now does get lapped by the race leader, but that is all for position, I think. Well, not all of it, but certainly Otley versus Chamberlain in the number 53 car was for position. 53 being the Triumph TR2 of Roy Chamberlain. Down the hill they go again, into the old hairpin. Good overtaking opportunity this, whether it's a pass for position or a pass against the back marker that you're trying to make, and I think that's what we're seeing there, aren't we? That's the John Young Jaguar going past the Roy Chamberlain Triumph through the tricky right-hander at the bottom of the hill. Out of the pit lane, that will be Grant Williams, I presume. Yep, number 12. Back out on track. He's known for his sort of stunt driving and very spectacular demonstrations that he puts on in perhaps not that particular Jaguar Mark II. I think he's got a few of them, but he races them very often at Goodwood in the members meeting and the festival, the revival events, and also goes up the hill at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, doing burnouts and donuts and all sorts of things that a Jaguar Mark II probably wasn't designed to do, but he puts on a great show doing it. Out of Redgate Corner, then we see the race leader go once again, past the 25 car, with whom it was expecting to be fighting for the victory, really. But unfortunately for the Webb and Newell Jaguar Lister, that number 25 car with its bonnet that went up at the start, they've obviously got it fixed, so I don't know whether it was just a case of the bonnet pins not being in properly and they were able to fix that, because I doubt they were able to get their hands on any sort of tank tape or anything like that to secure the bonnet from where they parked, because they parked basically next to a marshal's point. So yeah, I think they've probably just been able to get the bonnet pins in place properly, and looks as though for now it is all fairly secure, which is good news. That's one of the worst things you can have as a driver, especially at the start of a race from pole position as well as they were. Right, this is excellent news. We get a nice close-up view of the beautiful Alfa Romeo Sprint. This is the Mackenzie Frankel car. Now, if my theory about them both swapping cars is true, oh, well, I was going to say the other one should be in at the same time, but actually that's not a scheduled pit stop. That's a mechanical issue, I'm afraid, for the Sprint. And so it's possible that if they are both driving each car, that when the GTA comes in, the driver that gets out won't actually have another car to get back into. To Redgate Corner come a pair of Jaguars here. Now this is the 20 and the 58, which is, I believe, yeah, battle for 12th position. That's the 20 car is the Michael O'Shea Jaguar Mark II, just about hanging on to that place for now. And there the 24 car comes into the pit lane now, and that was Bob Lyons in the MGA Roadster. And Bob Lyons was running in 14th place despite having started 7th. So yeah, quite a lot of positions that have been changing throughout the course of this race. People who maybe qualified well, but then once we actually get into the race, the others have been able to pick their way back past them. 21 Alfa Romeo, that's the remaining Alfa now in the race then, goes out of Coppice Corner, again heads down the back part of the circuit. So as far as close battles are concerned, there are still a few going on further down the order. The 53 car, for example, which seems to have been in the thick of all of the action today. That's the Roy Chamberlain Triumph TR2. They are having a nice little scrap, actually, with the 110 Jaguar of Simon Seath, albeit for 17th place that will be. The line goes this group of cars, which includes Ian Dalgleish in 2nd position then. Ian Dalgleish is working his way through the traffic as best he can, but clearly has not yet got the better, really, has he, of John Young? Or has he? No, John Young is in the pit lane, I think. Is this John? I think this will be the 101 car in. Yes, it is. So I was going to say he lost a bit of time there to the Ian Dalgleish Lotus, but that's why he pulled into the pit lane. So pit strategy is now starting to work themselves out. There is that lovely triumph of Roy Chamberlain working its way down through the old hairpin. So everyone pretty much now have found themselves a little bit of clear track to work with, haven't they? 19 seconds now the lead between Rob Fenn, who started 5th on the grid, and Ian Dalgleish in 2nd, who started 12th. So they really have rocketed through the order. And there you can see the only job to be done here, really, for John Young is to make sure that he doesn't break any of the pit stop regulations. So essentially the team member there will be sitting with a timer on their phone, and they'll be making sure that whatever the minimum pit stop time is, they don't send him out any sooner than that. Into the pit lane looks as though it's coming the number 58 car now. That's the Pearson Lenthal Jaguar Mark II. They were running 12th position, which is actually pretty much where they started, 11th on the grid. That car lined up as we tick now towards half race distance. So pit stops then are starting to take place for some of our leading contenders, although the top 2 drivers in the race, Rob Fenn and Ian Dalgleish, are yet to come down the pit lane. There's the 58 car in for its mandatory pit stop, and as the clock ticks down, there is actually a driver change going on here, isn't there? We've got one driver jumping out, one driver jumping in. So yeah, Pearson Lenthal sharing that number 58 car. 20 seconds though now is the cushion between the top 2. Jaguar E-Type here, the better placed of the 2 Jaguar E-Types coming through. That's Robert Farrell. Yep, Robert Farrell, 5th position. Oh no, and that's, I don't believe it, that's the 101 car. So that is John Young, who's pitted and was running in 3rd place. He was battling away with Ian Dalgleish, wasn't he? And he's gone off at McLean, so looks like he's lost it quite early in the corner and then just ended up in the gravel. And that is a real shame. He'd made his pit stop, and it was going to be fascinating to see where he came out in relation to Ian Dalgleish. Now, this could really force a few people's hands, because if there is a risk of a safety car because of that, which there might be, because I don't know how easy it's going to be to recover that car with a live snatch, for example, then we might have no choice but to have a safety car period. And of course those that haven't pitted already could then be at a major advantage, because you lose far less time from pitting behind the safety car than you ever would from oh no, he's got going again, never mind. There you go. That's how much torque a Jaguar Mark I has. It can just dig itself out of the gravel all by itself without even needing any outside assistance, it seems. So there is something to be said maybe for skinny historic tyres and a huge amount of horsepower. You can dig your way out of any gravel trap, so that's good news. He'll have lost time from that, of course, maybe 30 seconds or so, but could have been an awful lot worse. So the 101 car then continues on its way. There's the race leader, Rob Fenn, turns through the first corner at Redgate. The Austin A35 is in, number 172. That's Bruce McWhirter, again on his own. No driver change going on here. You can see just how tiny that car is. It's sort of the 1960s equivalent of a Renault Clio, I suppose, and one make Austin A35 racing making a bit of a resurgence these days. Bit of a discussion going on there about something at the front of the car. What might that be? What's the BRSCC official spotted? I think they're just checking that that latch, as you can see there, actually, well, you could anyway, the mechanism that some of the teams use to keep those bonnets in place. It's can be a bit rudimentary sometimes, but that looked like it was a proper buckle and a latch that was in place, keeping the bonnet where it ought to be. So there's the 53 car working its way up the hill and out of the into the pit lane, I should say, comes the number 20 car. So these pit stops, not to change tyres or refuel or anything, it's simply because some of the cars being driven by 2 drivers. So obviously if you're sharing the car, you have to make a pit stop to make a driver change, and to make it fair for all of the drivers, not just those that are solo drivers, they also have to pit too, because obviously if the two driver teams had to pit for a driver change and the single drivers didn't have to pit, that would hand them a big advantage. So they're pitting simply because we have some cars being shared by two drivers. Race leader is in the pit lane, by the way. We might be able to see just to the left here. We're following the number 20 car at the moment in the pit lane, having its pit stop, Michael O'Shea. But there in the background, look, the little Lotus Elan is in. So that is Rob Fenn, man who qualified 5th on the grid, some 2.5 seconds off pole position. And of course, it was the Webb and Newell Jaguar that took pole, but only 3.5 tenths off them was Darren McWhirter. And McWhirter just hasn't shown that pace in the race, has he? McWhirter is yet to stop, and he was only in 4th position. A good sort of 30 seconds, really, behind the race leader. So, team there just showing Rob Fenn how much time left. You can see Rob Fenn has another name underneath his on the door there, Jake Hill. Jake Hill, British touring car racing star, a bit busy this weekend racing at Thruxton in the opening British Touring Car Championship event of the year. But Jake Hill, one of many contemporary racing drivers, both from touring cars, GT, sports cars, single-seaters, who enjoy stepping into historic cars from time to time because as impressive, technologically at least, as modern racing cars are, there's nothing quite like driving a historic touring car or GT car when they have so much power and so little grip. That is a recipe for fun in a racing driver's eyes. And Jake Hill, hopefully we'll see him out in that car a little bit later on in the season. There goes the Alpha GTA, the number 21 car, still plodding along. I don't think that car's pitted yet. There aren't that many, actually, that haven't pitted. Ian Dalgleish has got into the race lead now because Rob Fenn has pitted. He's done that because Dalgleish has not yet made his pit stop. The Pearson and Dorlin Jaguar has not been in yet, which tells me that they've got their quicker driver in now, potentially. They're trying to maximise the driver stint time in the 33 car. They're only about 3.8 seconds ahead of Darren McWhirter, who also hasn't pitted yet. And the 89 car, we're also waiting to make a pit stop. That's Robert Farrell's Jaguar E-Type. The MG is in, number 133. And that is for its mandatory pit stop. Chris Rees, again, no driver change, so just sitting there and waiting for the time to tick down to 0 on the minimum pit stop time. Pit lane, quite a busy place at the moment, because also that is the Pearson and Dorlin Jaguar, the white Jaguar, which is trying to find its teammate, because there is a driver change going to be going on there. So Rob Fenn will now come back through into 3rd position, and that will eventually become the lead. But of course, because Ian Dalgleish and Darren McWhirter haven't yet stopped, it's still 3rd place for the time being for the Lotus Elan, but there is no real benefit to pitting early or pitting late, unless, as we've said, you're changing drivers, because sometimes if you've got one driver that's a bit quicker than the other, you want to keep them in the car for as long as possible, so they tend to do the first stint of the race and then stay in till towards the end of the pit lane window. Pit window is still open though. It's open for another 5 minutes, I think. I don't think it closes until the 30-minute mark, or 10 minutes to go. Jaguar E-Type then up through Coppice Corner. Still, I think I'm right in saying there's only one car that's not running, which is the number 11 Alpha Sprint, the Mackenzie and Frankel car. I think that's the only car that's actually out of the race. In comes Darren McWhirter now from 2nd place. So the number 9 Jaguar makes its way in, which means we are now really just waiting for, well, the race leader Ian Dalgleish, and the other one that hasn't pitted yet is the number 89 of Robert Farrell. So there goes the number 9 car. Again, no driver change to be done there, and that is Rob Fenn going past, which of the Mark 1 Jags was that? It's not the Pearson and Dorling one, surely, because if it is, that's to put a lap on it. That car is back out on, oh no, it's in the pit lane, so I'm not too sure. Anyway, the Rob Fenn car is now back into 2nd place anyway, because it's gone past Darren McWhirter whilst he was in the pit lane. So once Ian Dalgleish pits, which in fact he's just done, as I said that, Ian Dalgleish just pitted just down below me. So Dalgleish in now for his mandatory stop. Pulls in at the very far end of the pit lane, so next time around Rob Fenn should be reinstated as the race leader. There is the 89 Jaguar, which was also one of the last ones we were waiting for, wasn't it, Robert Farrell? So that means everyone has now been into the pit lane. They've not all completed their stop, but they've all been in just before the pit window closes. So within a lap or so, we should be able to run you through the order properly and give you the gaps between the cars, try and pick out where the genuine battles for position are, because there will be a few as we move into the final part of the race. But Rob Fenn in the Lotus Elan should now be able to move his way up into the lead. There he goes, across the start-finish line. So this should now, maybe not officially on the timing screen at least, because technically Ian Dalgleish led that lap, although he was in the pit lane. So, yeah, Fenn has taken the lead, but not officially according to the timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen. But next time through, it should all start to update itself. Fenn still has the fastest lap as well, which is 1:24.868. He set on lap 13, so that was just after he'd pitted, I think, because we're on the 19th lap now. Ooh, bit of a close moment there with the 25 Jaguar. That's the Webb and Newell car that started on pole position. And, well, Rob Fenn is, Rob Fenn going to prove there that just because you have a healthy lead doesn't mean you've got the win in the bag by any means. Coming towards the closing stages then, the final quarter of the race, and it's been an entertaining race, this, certainly, as far as the seeing these beautiful cars out on circuit being driven as they ought to be driven, and there are still some battles going on. Look, this is 33 and 9, so this is for third place then. So the Pearson and Dorlin Jaguar is defending busily here from Darren McWhirter. McWhirter's got a good exit there from Redgate, tries to get up the inside through Hollywood. So two identical cars essentially. They're prepared by different outfits obviously, but the Jaguar Mark 1s both pretty much the same here. And although I think there is a slight difference in the front bodywork, isn't there? So possibly an age difference between the two. But anyway, the number 9 car of Darren McWhirter really applying the pressure now. And they are only about 9 seconds actually ahead of the Jaguar E-Type, number 17, which started from the very back of the grid, didn't it? So that was the Gate Jaguar. Don't have that driver's first name, unfortunately, but this is the battle for third place. Through McLean's up to Coppice corner, and Darren McWhirter sees a gap on the inside line into Coppice. He's got to be late on the brakes, though, and the wider line is always the quicker way through that corner. So the Pearson and Dorlin Jaguar stays ahead, but doesn't get off the corner all that well, actually. So McWhirter is back alongside, wheel to wheel down the exhibition straight, and towards the Robert chicane. The inside line surely should prevail here for Darren McWhirter, who was second on the grid, led into the first corner with the demise of the Webb and Newell Jaguar. Oh, and there's a spin right in front! Oh no, that was close. That was the 25 car that had gone around right in front of them, and that could have been pretty messy, or 125 that must be, which I think was the Lewis and Marshall Jaguar Mark 1, right in front of the battle for second. Now, McWhirter had to bail out of that move because I suppose technically there might have been yellow flags out, although I would argue that he'd already started the move by the time they got there. They're about to go a lap down to the race leaders, such as the dominance here of Rob Fenn in the Lotus Elan. There is the, no, it is 25, not 125. Oh, of course, yes, I knew this would keep confusing me. So 25 we decided was Simon Lewis and Gregor Marshall, I think, didn't we? Yes, and then the 125, no, sorry, Webb and Newell, beg your pardon. Yeah, so 25 and 125, continuing to confuse me. 125 was the Webb and Newell car, 25 is the one that's just had that spin. And thankfully avoided by the cars around it, because not only did we have this third place battle there, but now look, Rob Fenn, the race leader, is in amongst this group. Scythe his way through. That Lotus was so far off the pace in qualifying, and yet it's been in a class of its own really here. Actually in a class of its own, because it's in the same class technically as Darren McWhirter and John Young and the Pearson and Dorling Jaguars, but it's just had so much speed. Rob Fenn is looking now like he's going to take a very, very comfortable victory. About 26 seconds to the good now over Ian Dalgleish in second. 22 makes its way through. That's Edwin Driver's MG Midget Ashley. Is this a battle for position? Yes. Yes, it is, isn't it? Chamberlain in the Triumph TR2 right ahead. Third place battle goes across the start-finish line as well. And look, the Jaguar is with them now, so we've got 3 cars together now for third position, because that number 17 Jaguar E-Type Gate is right with them too. So 3 cars absolutely nose to tail now. Race is coming alive actually towards the end of it. The top 2 are very safe because Fenn is that nearly 30 seconds clear of Dalgleish, and then Dalgleish is over a minute ahead of these 3, but third, fourth and fifth couldn't be an awful lot closer. Down through the old hairpin, there you go. Further back we've got, well, the next car in line is actually that next Jaguar E-Type of Farrell. So Robert Farrell is in sixth position, but 7 seconds behind, and I'm not sure he's going to have the pace quite to catch this third place battle, although he's lapping about a second a lap quicker. Right then, there's now an extra sense of urgency for Darren McWhirter to get on with this, because Gate is right with them now in the E-Type, and he's still frustratedly stuck behind the Pearson and Dorling Jaguar. They slide their way out of Coppice Corner, down the exhibition straight. The 33 car moves over to the right-hand side of the road to defend, and Darren McWhirter will, I think, have to settle back in line once more. Now we do have battle royale between the top 3. 2 Jaguar Mark 1s and the Jaguar E-Type. It's a very British feel to this Jack Fairman and Innes Island Cup race, especially at the front of the field, and the E-Type is going to go through now. Darren McWhirter did not make that too difficult, did he, for Gate? So I wonder if he's realised that the E-Type is quicker, and maybe it's just for the best to let him go. And then maybe when he makes a move on the 33 Jaguar, follow him through and take advantage of that. They work their way now towards the top part of the circuit once again. Here you can see the battle joined, and now the 17 car is up alongside, and it's into third. That didn't take too long, did it? And McWhirter has not been able to take advantage of that, so if that was the tactic, it hasn't really quite worked, has it? And now Pearson, the 33 Pearson and Dorling car can go back to defending from Darren McWhirter once again. Up into the back straight again. There was just a bit of an overlap there as they disappeared from view. We come back to some of the battling going on a bit further down the field. What came of that third place scrap, just waiting to see out of the window when they come out of the final corner. There they go, back on screen, and it's still 33 ahead of 9, so no change. Right, the other E-Type, the Robert Farrell car, I think is going to catch them. Look, in the background, that E-Type at the top of the shot, that is the car that's now in 6th position. So we could end up with 2 E-Types inside the top 5 here, definitely. There is Robert Farrell, putting in some good laps at the moment, is Farrell. Personal best on the previous lap with a 128.45. The only 2 people quicker than him are the 2 Lotuses at the front of the field, Rob Fenn and Ian Dalgleish, so he's quicker than that whole trio ahead. And look, Gate isn't really getting away. Oh, backmarker getting in the way of Darren McWhirter, and again getting in the way of Darren McWhirter. It's difficult when you're in the slower car, because it's that number 53 car is a little bit quicker through the corners, isn't it? And so Darren McWhirter can't simply drive straight through. And that is Roy Chamberlain's Triumph, the TR2, which just was trying its best to stay out of the way, but didn't really know which way Darren McWhirter was going, and now he nearly throws it off the road as he tries to stay out of the way of Robert Farrell behind. 4 minutes to go. Can Farrell get there? I think he could certainly pick one of these up, couldn't he? The E-Types are good in a straight line as well, so once he catches the Mark 1, as we saw from Gate in the number 17 car, he was able to pick up a position against, or pick up both the positions against the Mark 1 Jags fairly easily. So down through the Robert chicane once again, and into another lap, getting towards the end now of what has been an increasingly entertaining first Aston Martin Owners Club race of the day. There is a certain irony to the fact there was only one Aston Martin in this race, given that it is run underneath the Aston Martin Owners Club banner. Oh no, that's Gate. That's Gate in the pit lane. So the car that had just worked its way through into third position has had to pit with mechanical problems. That is gutting for the number 17 car, but it now means that this is once again a fight for a podium place. And if Robert Farrell can get back up there, we could still end up with an E-Type on the podium. There goes Farrell through the picture there at the bottom of the screen. Battle's going on behind as well. Is this one for position? That's the 53 car versus the 22. Yeah, this is the Chamberlain car against Edwin Driver in the 22, and that's Ian Dalglish, the second place man overall, trying to come through and put a lap on them. But this race really has come alive here towards the end, hasn't it? Number 20 is a lap down, at least one lap down, but the cars around it racing for some valuable positions. There we go, there's the third place scrap. 2.5 minutes to go. Now, Robert Farrell was about 4 seconds behind these two at the start of the lap, but of course if they keep on delaying each other like this, then it's going to get very, very lively if the E-Type of Farrell can get on their tail. We need to work out where the leader is really, don't we, as well, because that will dictate how many more laps we have to go. Oh, I think a back marker got in the way of Farrell there through the chicane, so this isn't going to be a brilliant lap. 1 minute 30.4 for the 33 Jaguar. McWhirter does a 30.2, and it's a 32.1 for Farrell, so he loses a couple of seconds there, unfortunately. Just got stuck, got trapped behind the number 20 car there, the Michael O'Shea Jaguar Mark II. Which, to the untrained eye, does look remarkably like a Jaguar Mark 1, but slightly newer version of the car. Not much changed really between the Mark 1 and the Mark 2, and it's the Mark 1's actually the quicker in this race, certainly. Oh no, yellow flags at Redgate because Ed Driver has put the MG Midget into the gravel trap. So that is an unfortunate way for that to end. Now, he was having that battle, wasn't he, with Chamberlain in the Triumph. Oh, and there's another car in the gravel, is there? There's dust being kicked up there as the Ian Dalglish car comes through. Doesn't look like there's any major issue, just someone running a little bit wide. It might well have been Robert Farrell. The leader has just gone on to the final lap, I think I'm right in saying. Yes, Rob Fenn going through Redgate corner now, so Fenn just under a lap now from completing this race. There he is, sliding his way down through Hollywood and the Craner curves. Out of my window I can see the third place battle coming through. Still no change in the order, and yeah, there's no way now that Robert Farrell's going to catch them, unfortunately. So that will be, well, we could still see a change between the 33 and the 9 car, I suppose, but Farrell is not quite going to get there. There goes Robert down into Redgate corner, and just behind him, second place overall, is Ian Dalglish. But the race leader up at the top part of the circuit now, heading towards Coppice corner, is Rob Fenn, and after slicing and dicing his way through, it only took him a lap and a half or so, didn't it, to get to the lead. And once he was there, it was really fairly plain sailing after that. Just disappeared off into the distance. He comes past the 25 car, which has got its boot waving open now, ever since it had that spin at the chicane, which I think dislodged it. Through the chicane he comes then. Rob Fenn is going to win the Aston Martin Owners Club Jack Fairman and Innes Island Cup here at Donington Park. A beautiful display of driving and a dominant result, honestly, for Rob Fenn there. He's going to win it by over 30 seconds, I think, from Ian Dalglish in the Lotus 17. Now, he may or may not be the next car of note to come through. I'm not sure if he's going to beat the third place battle. In fact, no, he's not. I can see him in the background just putting a lap on Robert Farrell. So actually the next battle we need to watch for is that one for third. There goes second place, Ian Dalglish up the inside of Robin Farrell, but out the window I can see that it is going to be the 33 Pearson and Dorling car that takes third position. Fourth position will go to Darren McWhirter, and then second, after the third and fourth place cars across the line, is Ian Dalglish, because he was nearly a lap ahead of them. In fifth position will be Robert Farrell, after an entertaining race for him, and then it will be Grant Williams, who we really didn't see much of in that race, which is always a shame, but Grant Williams will come home in sixth position. So this is just the waiting for the final few cars to come through now. Rob Fenn with a brilliant race victory. We do have more action from the Aston Martin Owners Club, of course, a little bit later on, because we have the GT, GT4 and Intermark series, which is essentially a 21st century version of what we've just seen there. We've got lots of GT and sports cars, but from, you know, the last 5 or 10 years rather than the 1960s, heading out on circuit a little bit later on. Before that, though, we have the first ever race for the Nankang Tyre BRSCC City Car Cup. So those cars lining up behind me now in the assembly area. We'll be heading out on circuit very shortly. Here, there is confirmation of that result for the Jack Fairman and Innes Island Cup. Rob Fenn with the win, Ian Dalglish second, Pearson and Dall in third, Darren McWhirter fourth, Robert Farrell fifth, Grant Williams was sixth, Martin Stowe seventh, all of them class winners, because there were about 300 different classes in that race, it seemed. John Young was next ahead of the Pearson length of the car, and Simon Frankel rounding out the top 10. Then it was Lewis and Marshall in 11th, Jeffrey Otley won his class in the Jaguar XK120, Bob Lyons was next ahead of the Reeds in their Aston Martin DB2, the only Aston Martin in that race, and then the rest of the field filing through behind. There were a few that didn't make it to the end, unfortunately. I think 3 cars that weren't running at the end, including that number 17 gate machine, which was such a part of the battling towards the end of the race. We are very shortly, I believe, going to have a chat with our race winner, Rob Fenn, who I can see is parked up down at the bottom of the pit lane. So let's head down to Scott Woodwiss then, and our race winner.
Entertaining race for the Jack Fairman Innes Island Cup, and Rob Fenn overall winner as well in this beautiful Lotus Elan. Rob, that looked like a pretty entertaining race from your point of view and fairly straightforward.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it felt like bringing a gun to a knife fight really, but it's very sketchy in the rain, and in qualifying it's pretty difficult, but in the dry, I know Donington really well. I hadn't been out in the car for a couple of years, but it was bang on the money. The team had prepped the car lovely, and it was absolutely beautiful the whole way around.
Just tell us about the car. Obviously it's a Lotus Elan, but what kind of history does it have and what sort of racing has it done in the past?
It actually won the Silverstone Classic in the hands of BTCC driver Jake Hill a couple of years back, and he's raced it with me since then in various sort of championships, and then it's had a bit of a hiatus really as I've been driving a Mustang instead. But yeah, it's a fantastic car. JDR already know how to set up the Elans. We've got quite a few of them. Yeah, and it's great fun.
Must be quite a difference between a Mustang and a Lotus Elan. There must be, particularly power-wise.
A little bit, yeah. The Elan feels a bit more modern, I'll be honest with you. But, you know, the Mustang makes up for it in character, so there's that. It's a good balance.
Well, go and enjoy it, go and celebrate. Well done, and we'll see you next time. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Good stuff. We're going to just follow me over here because we're going to have a chat with our other category winner, which is Ian Dalglish in this really pretty Lotus 17 as well. Ian, great stuff from you. Beautiful car you've got alongside you, and it did the job in that race today.
It did indeed. We started from 12th because this morning was very, very greasy out there, and the setup wasn't right for the grease. But for this afternoon, the setup was fine. I just couldn't catch the guy in front, as the game goes. He was 20 seconds ahead, so I just kept the pace behind and tried not to make any mistakes.
Just tell us about the car you've got, then. What's the kind of history? What sort of racing has it done before, and how did you come to acquire it?
This is a 1959 Lotus 17. It's managed by Richie Purves. I bought it about 4 or 5 years ago from a gentleman driver who had been racing it for many years, and he was too old to drive, and so I took it on from him and his Ford Galaxy. And we race these as much as we can, but I have young kids, so it's quite difficult to get out and race. So I got a free pass for today. Left my wife some flowers and a card, and because it's North American Mother's Day today, and I ran to the race circuit. So, well, bring something home for my son.
Yeah. Looking forward to next time?
I will indeed, yeah.
Good stuff. Well done, enjoy it, congratulations, and we'll see you whenever we see you out next.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Great stuff.